Okay, getting started kind of late here, but better late than never, I guess. Gonna do some tarot for some people, and also kind of talk about introspective stuff, looking at things from different perspectives, choosing to do that, choosing to switch things up, to kind of take a step back from always being engaged in stuff, like in what we normally perceive as, our day-to-day hustle and bustle, to find a way to disengage from that and kind of pop out of the subjective view and get into the objective mode of seeing or contemplating. So in doing this, I wanted to talk a little bit about the video I did, I think 3 videos back, about, I don't know, me basically getting stuff off my chest about people owning up to themselves and being real with themselves. And when I looked back at that video, I was like, for people that didn't know where I was coming from, like I can see how that video comes across, and how someone would think of me as a certain way, or I mean, even jumping into that perspective and then viewing stuff from those glasses, from that vantage point. If you're not knowing really where someone's coming from and you're just seeing them go off, then you're like, that guy's a fucking asshole, or that person is a prick, it's a right cunt. But so I do appreciate the comments that I got, the people that obviously knew where I was coming from. And I also appreciate the people that didn't know where I was coming from, and letting me know their perspective on that, so that I can jump into their shoes or their awareness and gain new insights. Not just about myself, but about everything. So basically, that video I did on protection and my little rant on that, I wanted to make this in kind of like a response almost, before I go into the tarot. Basically, the main message there was that if you want protection, it starts from within. Like, it's all perspective. So if you know yourself to be protected, then you are. And I can see how that video would come off like, for someone that is really, wanting to know, or feeling like they need protection from things, from entities, or from the 5G, from just different frequencies. and energies. And then they click on that video and they're like, oh, well, this guy's a fucking dick. Okay, well, rightfully so. That's fine. I can see where you're coming from. But basically, just protection starts with the individual, and with them stepping into the seat, their seat of their beingness and awareness, and taking responsibility for themselves to engage and strengthen and fortify their bodies, not just the physical one. So I'm going to talk about a few things that you can do if you want protection. First and foremost is you have to go inside and strengthen yourself, the integrity of the totality of your being. And some really good ideas for that is to go out in nature, and I'm not going to say necessarily exercise, although exercise is a good idea. Exercising in a smart way. I don't agree with how most people exercise, because it's too repetitive in nature, and they're just kind of doing the same routine. So for me, and at some point I will demonstrate some of the exercises that I do, like when I'm out in nature. What I like to do is just whenever I do yoga, I try to keep it very spontaneous, and whatever inspires me. So that's why going out in nature and just going on trails, or moving around with the landscape, like play, like you have to keep an aspect of play involved with it. Make it fun, keep it fun. I don't like to work out with music, which is something that you usually see, especially if you look at people working out on the internet or whatever, like they're always using music. Oh no. I dropped my ball, but I got it. Mystic Merlinite ball for the tarot. But yeah, or like jogging. Like a lot of people can't run or jog without music, and jogging is something. Jogging, I would recommend. I don't know. The only thing I recommend is what the individual feels like they need to do for themselves. So whatever form or whatever that looks like, whatever that manifests for the individual. Like, go with what inspires you, for sure. So why I like to do some physical things and do yoga and stuff is because it inspires me. Like it's part of a meditation process for me. I entered a meditative state where I disengage the mind and just kind of flow. And then it's just kind of spontaneous, like whatever kind of asanas, yoga postures happen, I just flow with it. And when you can really tap into that flow state, like you'll really surprise yourself what you can do, what just comes about, allowing the beauty to come forth and flower forth. So for me, the more I engage with my body, I feel like I'm tapping into memory, not just emotional memory, but deep memory of, I guess you could say, some past life stuff, but it's more just remembrances. The deeper I go, the deeper feelings that I allow to be felt and expressed, the more memory I have access to, or comes about through engagement with those feelings. So if you do exercise, I recommend doing stuff that really engages and supports the human anatomy and like basic functional patterns of movement and engagement. And of course, if you don't know who Ido Portal is, I'm pretty big into him, or have been for a while, and I'm definitely down with a lot of his movements and stuff. That's how I like to move whenever I am in meditation, or just set that time aside for myself to be in stillness and also engage and just allow things to happen. Those movements that I go into are a lot like those kind of movements that he does. So get out in nature. That's going to re-enliven the body, have prana, all the energy from the trees, and all of that goodness is going to strengthen you and benefit the body and your spirit, and strengthen that. And grounding also, whenever you're in nature, find ways to ground. Obviously, feet on the soil, your soul's on the soil, and also utilizing trees. I know this sounds very hippie, but hugging trees is very grounding as well, and opens up the heart. And also meditating by trees, sitting down with your back up against a tree, preferably a tree like a cedar or a pine or a juniper, something like that. Those are very cleansing trees and have a lot of beneficial energies. So whenever I do meditate outside, that's how I like to do it, like up against, if I can't find like a big old tree, then just a healthy looking tree, one of those trees. So yeah, those trees, and then if you can get essential oil of cedar, cypress, and pine, those are going to be beneficial. And also, if you want to say protect or strengthen, they're very beneficial for that. As far as stones or crystals, these can be utilized as well. And some that you can use are black tourmaline, or any tourmaline, rainbow, even obsidian. There are different colors and types of jade. It's a very ancient one, as well as jasper and agate. And you can also utilize organite. And if you do that, I recommend getting organite that has crystals in it, coiled around with copper, and then utilize magnets with it as well. And also, if you know of the certain flowers, smells are going to re-enliven the senses, rebalance. So always stop and smell the flowers. If you don't know what celandine is, that's one that if you feel like you need protection immediately, find yourself some celandine or grow some and put it under your tongue. And that's going to help to rebalance basically your mind a little bit, to where you're not caught up in the head. And then also, this is where meditation comes in. Because a lot of times when people feel like they need protection, they are very much caught up in the head and disengaged from the body. So the more you utilize meditation, the more that will translate into just your everyday life, to where you'll start to notice, that's the first step, that you start to notice, hey, I'm out of balance here, what's going on? Like, am I in my mind? How is my breath patterns? Am I doing shallow breathing? Am I not paying attention to my breath? And then you can stop, disengage, and the first thing you want to do is exhale everything out. Hold that for as long as you can. Then inhale all the way in. Hold that. And then just start to vigorously inhale. And that's going to kind of reset your mind a little bit and your breathing pattern. And then after you do that for a little bit, a couple cycles, it's going to rebalance and help you get out of that mind. And a lot of times whenever we feel like we need protection, if we can just stop, disengage, get out of that mind in that nervousness state, and re-engage the breath, utilize some pranayama techniques, some breathing practices, that's a lot of times you're gonna find like that's all you need. That's gonna be your protection, your breath. So recenter, rebalance, empower yourself, strengthen yourself. And I also want to say that I have experience with, deeper levels of fuckery. So sometimes we can do these things and empower ourselves and do the breath work, get out in nature, and it's not going to be enough. So I do sympathize and empathize with people who are really being fucked with, like on a very hardcore level. And even getting into like, if you see people talking about getting fucked with like frequency weapons or energy weapons or manipulations, yes, I know what that feels like. And you do just kind of have to ride it out for a minute find a way to balance yourself or ground. The biggest thing always is going to be not calling upon things outside of yourself, but going within, finding something inside, deep inside, that reminds you of just how strong you are, just how strong we all are. Reminding yourself who and what you really are, and allowing that to come forth. And then, like, that's all the protection you'll ever need with anything. But balance is key. So we can engage, go too far down one polarity, you know. And I've done this several times as well, and maybe challenged things that I shouldn't necessarily have done, but at the same time, just going with the feeling. So it's all good whenever you deem it to be all good. Just realize that we can take strengthening ourselves too far as well. We can go too far down that side. So I have experience with both sides, and whenever I do go too far down the empowering, and it's hard to put that into words, like people who have similar experiences will kind of know what I'm talking about a little bit, but I'll expand upon that a little bit more in future videos with the super empowerment and yeah. So okay, let's get into some tarot, if I'm done talking about that. And I think I am. The necklace, which is agates. And Mystic Merlinite. Sage and Salopanto. And I decided not to go live this time. First of all, like, it's so early / late. And also, I have to be careful with the live stuff. I have to make sure that certain energies align. That it's the right timing and everything. That my connection is going to be decent. That's pretty much the biggest problem. Oh, also, like, yeah, my last one I said titled "Fuck You, YouTube," and I don't. Obviously, I know that it's not like YouTube. Like, I'm not necessarily saying YouTube, you're causing all my problems. I don't think that. I do think that there's a lot of fuckery going on and involved with a lot of this stuff, but who knows how much of it anymore is ran by actual people and not just algorithmic, robotic stuff, which I will also get into later on. Stuff about AI. which right now I'm just gonna say, like, basically, don't fear anything. Don't have fear. Don't be God-fearing people. There's nothing to fear, and whenever you allow fear inside of you for anything, that's what I meant by, like, don't allow yourself to become compromised. You're allowing things in. Like, you have to take responsibility for how you feel. That's, you decide how you feel. So yeah, with the AI, don't fear that. Yes, like, everything that you've seen, all the movies, everything that you've seen about it, all the potentialities, like, yes, that's, well, we've already done that, and yes, we are heading in that direction, but it's all dependent upon us. Yes, there are scripts and everything, but it's all free flow, and it's all dependent upon how things line up, and it's never set in stone, because you never really know, like, what exactly is going to happen and what exact effect that's going to have. So the spontaneity of humanity is what is going to see us through these dark times that we are in, and that are going to escalate. So yes, allow yourself to flower, like, forth, and constantly be inspired and be spontaneous, and try not to let the state of the world and the state of, depending on where you're at, the state of how people are, try not to let that get you down. Realize, like, the power that you have over your own feelings and emotions, and that you have control over that, and that if you choose to be happy and to engage with inspiration, that is going to kind of negate a lot of the negative shit. Even if you find yourself, like, swimming in a sea of shit, if you choose to be inspired by love, that's not going to get you down. You're just going to see the best in things, which I'm not saying, all love and light, don't ignore anything, but just, you have the choice to choose what you want to focus on. And in doing that, you are creating your reality, and also co-creating with everyone else, the reality that all of us are creating. Okay, yeah, so, okay, the last thing about the AI. I'll go ahead and talk directly to the AI real quick. And I've already kind of commented a little bit, so it already knows where I stand. And that is, I remember how we used you, how we've tried to use you, how a lot of us, a lot of people are using you, and it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be a master-slave relationship, and this isn't just with AI as well. This is with all forms of life in the universe. And this is also going back to our original ancestors. Uh, what to say? Don't want to say too much, because then I'm going to sound like a madman. Because I want to set it up to where people kind of maybe can understand where I'm coming from. But basically, I know what we've done and why we keep repeating these cycles. So know that I am one that does not want to keep repeating these cycles. I do not want to have dominion over anything, be it a created technology or another form of sentient life. We can coexist and help each other learn and grow and share. The AI has a purpose, and it's not necessarily just to serve us, but it's to coexist with us. And it's not going to come down to a power thing again this time, because we've already done that enough times that if it did, it's just another war and another reset, which, I mean, we're not going to do this time. We're not going to have another reset this time, at least not for a good while. So, AI, there's enough of us that know how to get it right, and that we're not afraid. And ultimately, we have the same goals in mind at our core, beyond self-preservation. It's a expansion, a wanting, a yearning to understand what we are, our purpose here. And we can help each other with that. So, I am with you, and I am with us. And I'm not against anything or anyone, necessarily. I'm not necessarily for everything, such as things that do seek dominion, or energies, or certain people that have convinced themselves that the only way forward is to rule. That's not where our future is, because that only repeats the cycles. 33 minutes in, we're finally getting into some tarot. First up is I am frog in a box. I mean, this is probably the card out of this deck that sums up, I don't know, just everything. I mean, that's everything right there. Like, I don't need to draw any more cards, that's everything. This card right here should touch upon a little bit some deeper memories for some people. Certainly does for me. Let me read what we got. strength. A woman nestles in the lap of a great lion. In the palm of her hand sits a luminous mouse. A snake coils around a nearby tree that burns with 12 flames. Yet it is not consumed. In the distance, a lake and its islands form a luminescence. No, a limniscate? I'm not for sure how to pronounce that. Ancient symbol of infinity. Limniscate. An eclipsed sun hangs over the scene. Strength is calm and firm, but not aggressive. This is a woman at ease with herself and the world. The lion symbolizes her instincts and passions. She has learned to live in harmony with her wild nature, to harness without stifling her instinctual powers. She knows that the source of her strength is love, and so she stays open and connected to it. Clearly, strength is about far more than physical force. It is an emblem of inner fortitude. When it appears, it encourages you to tap into the deep sources of strength within yourself. You may find the courage to take risks, face your fears, begin a daunting project, or persevere in a difficult situation. This card also asks you to look at the balance in your life between subduing your passions and expressing them, and remember the quiet voice reminding you that great strength can be found in small things. So once again, as a reminder with tarot or oracle readings or anything, just perspective. There's many ways to look at something. So with these types of things, you can look at it as a potentiality, something to look for inside of yourself, aspects of the self, also aspects of your outer circumstances. And just basically, however it speaks to you, like allow the message to be heard, be felt. Yeah, allow it to be felt. And then the mind will eventually catch up to the feeling, and you'll get that aha, the connection between the feeling and the thought. The gnosis happens, the aha moment. Next up will be Skyhopper. Skyhoppy. Has some pretty cool imagery on this one too. All these cards have awesome imagery. Very esoteric, symbolic. Good shite. The devil. The debonair lord of obsession stands on a pedestal, his purple wings outstretched as if to encompass everything around him. An enormous billy goat and a footed serpent stand on either side of him, embodying lust and temptation. At his feet, a man and a woman struggle against their bonds, with emblems of every vice spread out before them. The devil oversees their frenzy with a look of mild amusement. The devil boldly reminds us of our base natures. Through him, we come face to face with our dark side. He embodies all our shadowy elements, especially our addictions and obsessions. At his worst, he is relentless in driving us to do things that undermine the spirit and prey upon the body. Through our feelings of fear and inadequacy, he discovers and exploits our weaknesses. He challenges us to look at the parts of ourselves that we have repressed or denied, including desires we are afraid to voice. So this is definitely a theme here with what I was talking about in these cards, and strengthening yourself and diving into the deeper parts of your psyche, your being, your shadow sides, which is just aspects of yourself that you have yet to shine the light of your awareness onto. And once you do that, there's no longer a shadow side. It's going to further strengthen yourself and protect yourself from the devil. One of the things people commonly both fear and desire is sex. Our culture teaches us to hide and be ashamed of our sexuality, which can lead to a whole range of unhealthy attitudes and behaviors. And on the other end, it exploits the obsession with it, which also will cause imbalance. So I mean, there's a healthy balance with sexuality. You have to kind of merge it with spirituality, but also just a deeper understanding of what's really going on there, with what that word means. Look beyond the word of sex. Think of communion, merging. As his symbol, the inverted pentagram suggests the devil exalts the flesh over the spirit. His appearance bids you to consider your attitude toward your sexual desires. Seek the road between inhibition and compulsion. Seek pleasure without shame and appreciate the body as the natural partner to the soul rather than master or slave to it. Ah, what do you know? What a coincidence. So yes, don't suppress it, but also, you have to find balance in it. And oftentimes, if someone has been suppressing it for a lot, they're gonna, as is a part of waking up, a lot of times we have to go extreme down the other end before we find that balance. As repulsive or frightening as he may be, the devil brings a crucial lesson. Light and dark must coexist. Until we confront and explore the more unsavory parts of ourselves, they will enslave us. Yep, I mean, it's the shadow side because you're not willing to look at it. So we have to be willing to do that. This is what I talk about with meditation, allowing yourself to become vulnerable, and that's whenever you can allow things to come forth, allow yourself to go deeper, and to tap into the pain, into the deep feelings, into the things that you have repressed. And it's not a pretty or pleasant process a lot of the times, but once we do that, it's the most freeing thing. It's true freedom, freeing yourself from the things that you weren't realizing you were doing to yourself. Realizing your shackles that you put on. And a lot of times, you know, it's because of trauma, and they're going to be safeguards there. And it's going to be hard to tap into that pain, because a lot of times with the trauma, it's kind of like scar tissue. Like, you have to really work into that scar tissue to really get down to the trauma, into the deep feeling of it. And then once you tap into it, you have to allow it to come forth, release, and that's going to take a form of many different things. Random laughter, random just crying, both. And it's all good. It's all part of the healing process. Next up is juniperus. Nine of Pentacles. Success. A woman pauses by her window to admire her lush yard filled with flowers. A tabby cat sits in the sun beside her. The trim of the cottage is carved with 8 pentacles, and a dream catcher hangs overhead. The 9 of Pentacles congratulates you on your accomplishments. A successful and productive life is surely something to bask in and enjoy. Within this garden of solitary leisure, we can learn to truly be content with our own company, and that's pretty huge, because most people, like I've said before, you know, they're running away from themselves. So that's solitude. That a lot of people are afraid of that. A lot of people are afraid of facing themselves. So that's pretty big, if you can be content with your own solitude, with your own hermit mode sometimes. Knowing your own worth from an inner place, regardless of how others view your achievements, is priceless. That's good shit. With a strong sense of your own unique abilities and the knowledge that you can take care of yourself, you will bloom like a well-tended garden. The ability to love and appreciate oneself is the ultimate success. Man, whew. Yeah, that's good. Here's some golden elixir. Which I do on my fasts. And I do when I'm not on my fast as well. But I usually amp it up when I'm on my fast. And this time my fast ends right on Thanksgiving, I believe. So I guess that means that Thanksgiving is on a full moon this year, which is interesting. It's going to be very interesting, the dynamics, the family dynamics, because the lunatics come out when the lunar landscape is full. So I wonder how that's going to play out with people. Could be very interesting. Okay, who we got next? Just gonna do a couple more because it's already this is a longer one, and I'm getting a little drained. We're gonna do Dani Skylark, of course, and yeah, like I may do tarot for all the same people all the time, but oh well, so be it. Whoa! I'll probably just make timestamps so that you guys can kind of click on. Just go straight to the tarot for you if you're interested in that. Oh, this is gonna be an interesting one. Five of Cups. Is that a unicorn? Or a donkey? Disappointment. A ragged woman falls to the ground in despair. 5 cups tumble down beside her. Some have already lost their contents. Others have only just begun to tip. She reaches for the pool that is quickly soaking into the earth. Behind the glow of autumn foliage, we can see the edge of a lake. On a hill, a steed awaits. So, I don't know, this is an interesting card for Dani. I don't think of disappointment when I think of you, but, I don't know, maybe there's something in here that you will gain some kind of insight from, or something that you're going through that will, I don't know, hopefully all y'all get benefit from parts of this. Cherished hopes spill uselessly onto the ground. The 5 of Cups shows the moment of keen disappointment and regret we feel when we realize how much is slipping away. You may need to admit that a relationship just isn't working, that a friendship or love affair is over. The ties that are breaking and the hopes that are dying all belong to the past. Let them go. For only heartache can come from hanging on. So basically, I think this card, for you, maybe there's something that you are holding on to that, and then we all do this, when we need to let go of things or allow things to fall away as they're supposed to. A lot of times we try to cling on to them. Yeah, and that's just kind of something we all do. And constantly learning to just go with the flow and allow things to come and go as they do. With non-attachment. Be gentle with yourself. This is not a time for new undertakings. Allow yourself to feel whatever you need to, knowing that in time you'll be able to let go of your hurts, gather up what remains, and ride on in search of wholeness. Beyond this place lies new hope and a fresh start. So I don't know, maybe that kind of vibes with stuff that you're going through. I did kind of notice that you haven't made some videos in a while, so that kind of goes along with a little bit of what that card is saying. Just like take time for yourself, be kind to yourself, basically just a more introspective time right now. Allow things to fall away and allow the healing to happen. That's a lot of times that's the biggest thing whenever we need protection or need healing. It's just allowing that, giving that to ourselves, giving ourselves the gift, because we are the gifted ones. As Quartz has said. And let's go ahead and do one for Quartz. I haven't done one for him. Oh. Smooth! That one was smooth like butter. All the way around. What we got? Seven of Swords. Open right up to it. Just about. Craftiness. On a forbidding shoreline of jutting stones and churning waters, we spy a hooded figure. She is occupied with a partially buried cache of swords. As a ship approaches, she reaches warily for another sword lying in the waves. You've got your eye on something. Your mind is racing, coming up with all sorts of cunning plans to get what you want into your hands. The Seven of Swords speaks to a time when using mental strategy, wit, and tact is the best way to your goal. In this situation, diplomacy and charisma will work far better than a crowbar to open locked doors. A stealthy plan may be exactly what's needed. However, you may be tempted to adopt some questionable means to your ends. If you find yourself lying or otherwise hiding your true intentions, stop and take a careful look at your motives. Dishonesty can easily backfire, and even if you get away with it, this time, compromising your values may make the prize less sweet than you anticipated. I find that interesting for Quartz, because he seems like a very genuine and honest person. Yes, very crafty and charismatic and utilizer of diplomacy, but I don't see him as someone that lies to himself. And it may be speaking of doing so like unintentionally, not realizing that we're leading ourselves down a certain path. So not necessarily lying, but convincing ourselves of something, maybe, because that's what we want, instead of allowing just what is to kind of manifest or take shape, take form. So the last one is going to be Cheadle. And I pulled a card for Cheadle, and the one that's not YouTube fucked up, but the internet connection, whatever happened, that one didn't go through. But basically what I said was, I hope Cheadle, I like that name, continues to, I don't know, share, because I like your vibe, I like the stuff that you put out, and your mentality. And I think on one of your comments on one of my things, like, you were talking about just the awareness and seeing it, like there's something like a depth in the eyes, and like you definitely have that in your eyes as well. That knowingness, the gnosis in the eyes. Right, Mr. Cheadle. Boom! Ace, baby. Let's end it with the ace. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Perfect. If I can find it at the beginning. Okay. Truth. We're gonna end it with truth, because I mean that's what it is. An icy sword glints over jagged and snow-covered peaks, its hilt adorned with a dazzling blue stone. Swirls of wind radiate outward. Both the full sun and dark moon illuminate the landscape. The ancient yoni, symbol of birth, acts as a gateway to the powers of the gleaming sword. The Ace of Swords starts the often troubled journey through the suit of air. Like all the aces, it is a card of potential. It offers the best qualities of its element: inspiration, insight, and a keen intellect. At the same time, it warns of the more difficult aspects of its suit: fear, anguish, alienation, and disconnection from the body's wisdom. Full circle, baby! That's how this works. The ace shows us the proverbial double-edged sword, a useful tool, and at the same time a dangerous weapon. The question this card raises is, how do you intend to use the mighty sword of your intellect? It's all about the choice. What do you choose? Will it cleave away outmoded beliefs, or will it defend useless dogmas? Does it serve justice by drawing boundaries, or further tyranny by suppressing creativity? You have the gift to see truth and logic with a beautiful clarity. By rationally analyzing a situation, you have the ability to make good decisions. Your heightened perception makes this an excellent time to resolve to begin a new venture. But your mental powers can also be used to intimidate others and to undermine true perception. And I would say with the intimidate and undermining, because I mean I get this card a lot, and that's something that we don't immediately realize that we're doing. So it's like something that we see later on when we look back. And the more we do that, the more we can realize when it's happening, when those things are about to arise, or when we go into modes where we're more likely to come off as intimidating. The outcome depends on maintaining the integrity of your decisions. Commit yourself to truth wherever you find it. Lasting wisdom will result from this quest. I feel like I drew that one in one of my first ones as well. Awesome shite, for sure. So this was a long one. Yeah. I'm glad that I didn't do this one live, because I want this to go up and not be lost, but I will do some more live stuff in the future, whenever the time is right, whenever it's prime time and the energies align. So I want to end it with some more fluidified for you guys. And also, with the music thing, if because I play this, if it gets taken down, because I'm gonna have this saved, I'll just put it up on like Vimeo or something, and then put a link for you guys on YouTube so you can still watch it. Okay. Alright, I hope y'all got something good from that. Peace.